Dear beloved viewers, welcome back. Before we took a break, I asked this question. Who is to pay for this group of mu'allafat qulubuhum, those whose hearts are to be reconciled? Is it an Islamic state that has to distribute to this group? Is it a Muslim organization? In case an Islamic state is not doing that work or is not there, like in our countries, we don't have Islamic states, so we might have an Islamic organization or Muslim organization. Should it be a Muslim organization then, if we don't have an Islamic state? Or should it be an individual Muslim pays to this category? Now, according to the views of Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, he says decisions regarding reconciling hearts are the duty of the Islamic State. So, principally, the actor here to distribute zakat to the mu'allafat qulubuhum, it is the role of an Islamic State. Principally, the Prophet ﷺ and his successor affirmed this responsibility as part of the state's executive affairs. He continues saying, if the state does not fulfill its responsibilities in collecting and distributing zakat, Muslim organization can make decision about distribution to individuals whose hearts are to be reconciled. If the government does not undertake this duty, nor are there Muslim organization that can distribute this zakat, he asked this question: can then Muslim individual who distributes his own zakat use part of his zakat to give to this group? Then he answers this question by saying, in my opinion, that is the opinion of the Shaykh Qaradawi, he says a Muslim individual must not make decision concerning heart reconciliation except in a very rare case where no other destination of zakat is available. So he says, in his opinion, a Muslim zakat payer should not be the one giving to this group except in a very rare cases where no other destinations, no other groups of zakat beneficiaries are available. Such case may apply to Muslim living in non-Muslim countries. Although it is preferable even under such circumstances to dispose zakat for the spread of Islam or to send it to the poor and the needy in the Muslim countries. So this is the answer that we can give with respect to that question, but again, there could be a diverse of other scholars' opinion on this matter. So that is the discussion with regards to mu'allafat qulubuhum, and they can be the issue here sometimes is, should they be poor? The category doesn't require them to be poor. They can even be rich. Okay, and this is with respect to Imam al-Zuhri was asked as to those whose hearts to be reconciled, and he said, whoever embraces Islam from among the Jews and the Christians can be given. He was asked when if they were rich, he said even if they were rich. Okay, so this is to show them the beauty, the cooperation, and to strengthen their iman. They are given something out of zakat. So there is no specific amount as to how much they are to be given, but rather it will depend on the circumstances of the person that he is given that zakat under this category. If somebody who has lost properties and so on and so forth as a result of embracing Islam, then he can be given something as good as enough in order to support his livelihood. as he might be at that moment, maybe even a poor. So if he's a poor and a rivetee, then you can see to what extent he needs to be supported. At this moment, I need to talk about an important aspect of Tamleek in distribution of zakat. That whenever you distribute zakat, there is this condition of ownership, that the zakat beneficiary should own the proceeds of zakat. So the question here is, should all of these groups mentioned in the verse be given zakat and take ownership of it? Or what the scholars are saying about this? The scholars are of the view that the first four groups that we have mentioned, the poor, the needy, the workers, and those whose hearts are to be reconciled, they should be given zakat and own the proceeds of zakat. So they have to have an ownership of it, except in certain circumstances, or except if there is what is called the concept of wakala. If it is the concept of wakala is introduced, whereby the poor authorizes you, rather than giving him money, to buy food, to pay for him to the landlord. If he has authorized you, then that is a different thing, but he has to be given his or her zakat if we don't have any fear that he might misuse the zakat proceeds. So this is an important condition for the first four categories, that they should be given zakat, should own the proceeds of zakat. As for the other category, it is not a must that they should be given, but rather they can be spent to realize the objective of which the zakat intended at that particular point. So for the other four, which we are going to discuss shortly, and also in the coming sessions, they can be given, or we can simply pay to achieve the objective, or to relieve the harm that the category or the individual faces under that specific category. So this is what the sheikhs have said, including the contemporary one, the like of Ibn Uthaymeen, that for the poor and the needy, the workers, and those who has to be reconciled, it is necessary to grant ownership. But for the other group, it is not a must. So this is important issue that zakat givers must understand. You don't just give the poor food without him authorizing you to give him food. They are to be given based on what you are giving. So if you are a trader, you give zakat on your cash that you have, you give cash to the poor. If you are a livestock keeper, okay, you are required to give a sheep or a cow or a camel, you give that. You don't sell the cow and go buy food and give food to the poor. No. Okay, and we shall discuss this issue as to, should you give cash or should you give items later on in the episode. But as I can highlight here is, if your zakat is on cash, you should not go and buy the foods and give them foods without being authorized, okay, by the poor to buy for them foods. So we should give them zakat proceeds accordingly, rather than do other things, unless we are wakil, he appoints us as agents to fulfill or to buy items or pay for their needs. Now let's move into the fifth category, which is al-riqab, liberating slaves. Liberating slaves. This is the fifth group, and it exists, this group exists according to the International Islamic Fiqh Academy and other scholars like Ibn Uthaymeen, Qaradawi and others. This group exists. Those who are in bondage includes freeing Muslim war prisoner. It is permissible to pay out of zakat funds for releasing kidnapped Muslims or kidnapped Muslim family members. In this category, spending zakat in liberating slave may take two forms. This is now the classical understanding of this category. It may take two forms. The first form is this zakat can be used to help contracted slave to pay his master. Or this person, this slave is known as al-abd mukattab, a slave who has entered into a contract that if he will have some money and so on, he will pay his slave master to buy out his freedom. So this kind of slave can be given zakat in order to free himself from the slave master. The second category of liberating a slave is to buy the slave with the proceed of zakat. This is now the abda mamluk, who has no contract whatsoever, but he's a slave. He can be purchased and then given his freedom. So this can be done by the state or a zakat payer or a group of zakat payers together. This is the opinion of Imam Malik, Ahmad, and other scholars. Ibn Uthaymeen includes freeing Muslim prisoners of war by using zakat, and that falls under al-riqab as well. So this group, as elaborated, even at the contemporary time, we can support those who are in these situations that I have mentioned. How much they are to be given, now it will depend as to how much it is required to set them free. How much will be required to set them free? There is no specific amount. So in this particular group, you can see you don't need to give. There's no need of ownership of the zakat proceeds to the slave, but rather we pay the slave master, or we pay the state that has captured the Muslim as a prisoner. Okay, so there's no condition of milk, a Tamleek, with respect to fulfilling the need of this particular group. The most important thing here is to achieve the objective, which is to get the freedom of that Muslim prisoner or the freedom of the slave. This is the most important thing under this category. The sixth group that is eligible to be given zakat is al-gharimin, persons under debt. So it is well known that al-gharimin are those who are under debt. According to the Hanafi school, this group includes all who do not own nisab above what is needed to pay their debts. This is according to Hanafi. But the other four schools of Islamic fiqh, the school of Imam Maliki, Ahmad, and Shafi'i, distinguish between two kinds of debtors. And this is the majority of the we say is the majority view, that there are two kind of debtors. Those whose debts are for personal use, those who have incurred these debts because they had personal needs, they had basic needs that they wanted to fulfill, but they didn't have financial resources, so they had to incur, they had to borrow, for example, or purchase items on credit basis, so they are indebted due to personal needs. And the second category of the debtors are those whose debts are caused by their social and political responsibilities. And we shall explain this as to who are these who incur debts due to social responsibility. And a simple example would be somebody who guaranteed another person. Okay, he had to guarantee his Muslim brother, say, to pay a particular debt, and then that brother failed to pay the debt, so that burden falls to him to clear the debt. Okay, so it wasn't for his personal need, but it was for social responsibility. He had to guarantee his Muslim brother in order to fulfill his needs. So let us look at these two categories in detail. And we shall start with the first one within the few remaining minutes, but inshallah ta'ala we might come back and continue from here. So the first group of debtors, we said, are those who borrowed or who have incurred debts for personal use. So these are those who are individuals who are under debts for personal reasons and do not have assets and income sufficient to rid them of their debt in addition to satisfying their essential needs. Debt may have been borrowed for consumer expenditures, including marriage, medical bills, rent, as well as debt resulting from accrued liability towards others. In these groups are also those hit by natural disasters or accident that destroyed their assets and forced them to borrow in order to continue fulfilling their basic needs. So these are explanations as to the first category of debtors for personal needs. And inshallah ta'ala, we shall continue from here in the next episode, looking at the condition for giving zakat to this first group of the debtors, before we discuss the second group of debtors, those who have incurred debts due to social and political responsibilities. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.